This week I got a comment that I'd like to answer. So it says here, I'm getting started in stock photography. Would you say illustrations or photos sell the best in stock? I'm a photographer, but I do have some Photoshop skills, so wondering which to focus on. Now, I went over to Shutterstock because I just wondered what sort of results you get as popular. I put in the word business and I got mostly photos out. And I just thought I'd try a different word. I put in birthday and I got mostly illustrations out. And this is looking at the most popular images for each search. So I don't think there you can see that there's much difference. It just depends what you're searching. What I would say is that it really depends more on you and what your situation is. So if we look here, I think it's which is more practical for you, which is easiest to do, which you enjoy the most, which you're good at, and where you want it to go in the end. So if we look at me, I actually started by making photos. I did about 4,000 photos, and then I changed to illustrations, and I've done about 40,000 illustrations. And it's really because of the situation I was in. I started when I was in the Philippines, and it was easy to get models. I had lots of friends who wanted to be a model. So that was a good thing to take. I needed lots of equipment, but I was settled there, so I could get the equipment. Now, when I left the Philippines, I started traveling, and it just wasn't practical anymore. It was good to have models, but when I was traveling, I didn't know people, so I couldn't do that. When I settled in Phuket, I started doing tabletop photography using props. And it was easy because I could get the props. I could just buy them quite cheaply. I just went, actually, it's a 20 baht shop, so the props were really cheap. And I just made a real big collection of props and started swapping them around. The problem was when I wanted to start traveling again, I had bags and bags of props, and then I couldn't travel. What I did then, I started doing illustrations. I'm not an artist, but I had experience in outsourcing. So I outsourced illustrations, and because I was familiar with Photoshop, I was able to multiply those illustrations, just take some, maybe take some text, and then kind of merge those images together to make new images. I outsourced about 2,000 images, and I made that into 40,000 images. So looking at all that for you, there's a lot of variables there. Is it easy to get models? Do you want your family to be models? Is it easy for you to get hold of props, and have you got props around the house? Do you want to travel? If you travel to nice places, then maybe you want to take photos there. There's so many variables then about the practicalities that only you can decide which is best. So the second one there is, which do you enjoy? I enjoy taking photos, but living in Thailand now, it's really hot. Maybe it's okay after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's no good if you want to take lots of photos. You need to go out to different places and then get the models, get some props together. And it ends up being really hot and not enjoyable. So I actually prefer to stay in the room, have the aircon on, and be in comfortable surroundings. I also enjoy working on the computer, so that's good for me. If you enjoy going out with your family at weekends and taking photos, then maybe that's the thing to do. Whereas if you enjoy working on the computer and doing graphics, then maybe that's the answer. Number 3 is which you're good at. Now, some things you can learn and some things you can't. I can't draw, and I couldn't even learn to draw. I'm not an artist, but I can do practical things. So I think photography is more practical. There are lots of things to learn, like which direction the light's coming from, and what kind of composition works, and how to get a good angle. So I think all that you can learn, whereas drawing, personally, I don't think I could ever learn that. With 3D software, you can learn it. You can make different shapes. Now, maybe you wouldn't be able to make a character if you're not good at drawing, but there are lots of things that you can make using 3D software. So that's one thing to take into account. So the fourth point here is where you want it to go. I think that stock photography is a great way to learn either illustrations or photography, and you can earn some money while you're doing it. but the aim really should be to get higher paying jobs. With photography, maybe that's getting clients or doing wedding photography, maybe event photography, or going on to video. And with illustrations, maybe that's doing graphic design and getting clients as a freelancer, or maybe going into 3D and then doing 3D video. So really there's no one answer to all of this. It's like saying offline whether it's better to be an accountant or a teacher. And I think online is like that now. There are so many jobs that you can't say which is better. Some people will prefer to be an accountant, some people will prefer to be a teacher. It all depends on your experience, what you're good at, and what you enjoy doing. The really good thing about life nowadays, and especially with internet, is that you can try different jobs. I started off as a telecoms engineer, and it was a bit of a dead-end job, so I moved over to customer service. Because of my experience on customer service, I became a teacher, teaching engineers, and then I ended up working in a computer center. And that was partly because I studied accounting, and I got a job in a computer center as accounting support. All of that together helped me to start a business in the Philippines, exporting. And because that export business was doing well and I didn't have to do so much, I started working online and making websites. And actually, I got a program built that built 1,000 websites, and I was getting good money. Now that all came to an end, so I started photography. And because photography wasn't so practical, I then moved into the graphics or illustrations. So what I'm trying to say is that there's so many opportunities in anything you want to do nowadays. You've got to work hard and keep trying. If something works, then keep trying at it and try variations. If it doesn't work, then try something else. But the important thing is to just start and then decide along the way.